Microsoft 365 in practice. Hey, Darius.
Hey Jerry,
Are you ready for a quick look at Outlook?
I am. Outlook's pretty common to many people. It's one of the most popular Microsoft apps.
It sure is, yeah. And what it fascinates me is that we use email so much. Outlook is our email app, but it does a lot more too.
You could say there are a lot of features in Outlook that are overlooked.
I see what you're talking about.
So this is Outlook. It's an email client. Absolutely. I like to make my email just a little bit easier to read. So I usually use the message preview, which is currently set to 3 lines. If I turn it off, I can change it for this folder. And notice I just see the from, the subject, received. So I usually have message preview set to 2 or 3 lines. And then I also use the reading pane. So notice up here, I'm on the View tab, on the reading pane in Outlook, and I put it on the right. So now what happens is as I click these messages, I can see a preview of them here. So it's a quick way to read your messages without actually opening them. The other thing I'll mention is composing a new message. So I can do that from the menu here, new item. Notice Control N. You were always looking for shortcut keys, aren't we, Darius?
We have a whole video about that, I hear.
Yes, just recently. So let's do Control N. Wow, look at that. It's a new mail message. Now, what you got going on in this new message, first of all, notice it's coming from my jerry@lightlever.ca account. So here I am composing an email. First thing you want to notice is that who it's coming from. So this is from jerry@lightlever.ca. That's my default mail account. I could also send it from one of my other many email accounts that I have set up in Outlook. So these are set up over on the left-hand side here as accounts. So when I am composing an email, one of your powerful things to do is use these signatures. So right now you see the signature came up right away. I can also go in Insert tab and insert a signature, and I can choose which signature to use. So I'll use the short signature here. What I'll often do is to create these signatures, I'll actually open a new email and I will go into the signature and click signatures here, and then you can copy, paste, and set up your signatures. Darius, keep in mind when we're sending an email, it is a communication, right? We're trying to convey something. We have a purpose for this email.
One of the primary forms of communication nowadays, Jerry.
What do you think some of the tips we can give our readers are about email?
Have a clear form. Email etiquette's quite
Mm-hmm.
different than sending other electronic messages, such as texts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, when you mention text or even a Teams chat, one of the first distinguishing features of your email is that it has a subject line. So one of the first things that I recommend with everybody is use clear subject lines. Don't reply to an email and use the reuse subject lines. Actually have a clear subject line. So right away, just by the subject line, the person I'm sending to sees that there's an action they have to do by November 5th. So, and then compose the email. And I'm not going to get into all the details here, but there are some tips about email composition that I would highly recommend, including keeping it short, using bold, italics, underlines to a minimum, but use them to emphasize and clarify.
So now let's take a look at using tasks to capture to-do items and calendars to capture schedules or appointments.
Now we're getting to the stuff that most people might not know about, so I'm excited to look at it.
Great, some good tools here.
Let's say that this Cortana daily briefing is something that I'm going to want to look at in a couple of days. I can drag it over. I'm dragging and dropping, and I can create a task for that. So notice I drag it to this little task icon down here. And now it takes the subject line from the email. I just need to give it a due date. I'm going to do it by Tuesday the 16th. And now I have a new task created. the email still sits there. Similarly with calendars. Hilton Honors, I'm going to need to chat with someone about that. I'm going to create a calendar entry. So I drag and drop on the calendar here. So then it takes all the body of the email, it's in the calendar entry, and I can set the time and date that I need to address that thing.
What are some of the advantages of creating a task or a calendar entry?
Well, calendars have a specific time and date. Tasks, you can have no date, or you can have a due date, but it could get done anytime between now and then, or even could be done late. So calendars are a more specific time. Plus, it's easier to invite people to calendar entries. You could share tasks as well, but calendars are really, meetings and appointments.
And the task or calendar entry will be created as soon as you drag it there?
Yes. Yeah. So if I go to my calendar now and go to Tuesday where I dragged that thing, zing, there's my Hilton Honors monthly statement right there.
As easy as that.
As easy as that. One more thing while I'm here and talking about drag and drop. I've got my calendars. I've got multiple calendars in here. Notice there's 4 of them. Of course, they're color coded. I see them across the top here. The yellow one is my personal calendar. This ended up in my default calendar, which is Lightlever, but it's actually something to do with my personal management of stuff. So I'm going to drag it over and put it in my personal calendar instead. So that just makes it easier for me to separate my personal from business. So if I'm having a business meeting, I will usually turn off. So then the other thing I dragged and dropped is a task, your daily briefing here. Notice I dragged it into the same day, the 16th, and there it is in my task list at the bottom. This task view is really useful in the calendar. So you asked just about the difference between a calendar and task. Well, here I am viewing my tasks. The things that are due on the 16th show up at the bottom of the screen here. This is in the view menu when you're in the calendar and you go to the daily task list. So watch the bottom of the screen. I'm going to turn it off briefly. See, the task list disappears there. I'll put it back on as normal. And now I can see my tasks. And then I might decide as I'm planning my day on Tuesday that, yeah, there is a particular time I do want to look at this. I'm going to look at it at 9 a.m. So notice I just dragged it in to my calendar. So now I do have a specific time of day. I've got some time blocked off in my calendar to work with that daily briefing. It's still a task, but I put time in my calendar to work on it.
And how do you remove something from your tasks?
You can right click and delete. You can mark complete here as well. Good old right click is your friend. So let's say I'm finished, I'll just mark it complete. It's not actually gone, it's just flagged as complete and hidden from most task lists. Let's get into the calendar a little bit more. One of the things you'll recognize is calendar views, different ways of seeing the calendar. So I'm going to go to the view menu and I can see day, week, or month view. I don't find the month view very useful because I have a lot of stuff in my calendar. The other thing I'll point out here is when I create a new calendar entry, there's a few ways to do it. First, one way that's really neat is like say on the 18th, I want to have a meeting at 8:30 to 9:30. I can just use my mouse to highlight that time and start typing, meet Darius. So it's that simple to create an event. Now, I noticed it created in the calendar I had highlighted here. I'm going to put it in my Lightlever calendar instead before I go any further. Double click this to open it up. I remember in one of our previous episodes, we talked about the Find Time app. So remember that's here as well. If I want to poll to find out when people are available, I can use that. That's right here in the calendar also.
Link to that episode will be in the description.
Okay, sounds good. And then Teams meeting. So I could put a Teams meeting together here. And now as soon as I click that, it puts all the joining information for the Teams meeting. And it also creates this as a meeting with this meeting invitation dialog. So I'm going to invite Darius. And I also have to specify here which account it's coming from. Sometimes it doesn't notice the account change when I dragged it in there, so that's fine. And then I would send this off and it would be in my calendar. Boom. So in the task list, this is quite a useful feature, and I think it's underutilized in Outlook. All of these tasks are synchronized with my phone, and notice in this view they're organized by when they're due. Right-click these to mark them complete, or I can delete them. I'm just right-clicking to affect these. And maybe I might want to open up one of these and actually give it a due date. What you'll find is as you use Planner, those planner tasks show up in here as well. On the left-hand side, I have a list of the various lists. So I have some actions from one of my SharePoint sites and various tasks from all my different clients. So be aware that this task list brings many tasks together. And again, I recommend it as something where it's like, okay, I got to remember to do that. Put it in your task list. It's sometimes known as externalizing memory. Notice here, renew the Ranger insurance. This is my insurance for my truck. And notice it is a recurring task and recurs every year at a certain date, June 20th. So it's a way for me to make sure I don't drive around without insurance. It'll pop up and remind me.
All right, that was a quick look at Outlook. Did you find anything useful in that, Darius?
Yeah, there's a lot of tools that really help with your productivity, and it's very streamlined compared to some of the other external things you might be using. Checklist apps that aren't already integrated into the things you already use it's a lot of bloat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and bloat is often used for some of the Microsoft products too. Like Outlook has so many features. We haven't gone through everything here by any means, but just highlighted some of the features that that I use all the time.
Take the stuff that works for you and just ignore the rest.
Or find it when you need it, I guess. Hey, I'm Jerry Brimacombe, and this has been another episode of Microsoft 365 in Practice. Please let me know if you have any questions, and your comments and subscriptions are welcome. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.